Hey, it's a game day with first ballot Hall of Famer Rod Woodson. I am Elliot Harrison, and we got a lot of topics to talk about here. We're going to do it in quick fashion, just go around the league. And Rod, I want to start with Philadelphia because they're 0-2. I think a lot of people still think of this team as kind of a Super Bowl team, but that was 2017. That was 3 years ago. How bad is this team? How good is this team? Are they somewhere in between, like an 8-8? How do you see it?
I think they're somewhere in between. Carson he hasn't played well this year, and he's missed a lot of wide open guys. In week one, he threw a terrible interception on a little hitch route on the outside. He threw it late, and he threw it inside. And I'm just like, man,
not good.
It's not a good thing if you're the quarterback for a defensive back. That's like candy. That's like, hey, it's Christmas. They really don't have a running game. I thought they were going to be better defensively. They got my guy Darius Slay over there, and they just haven't played the way I thought they were going to play this year. Obviously, there's a lot of football left. I mean, you still have 14 more games. I don't know if they're a playoff team unless they somehow just turn everything around. But I think they can at least finish 8-8, 500.
You look in their division, the Cowboys not really playing well, got a gift, let's be honest, last week. Washington played well week one. Arizona took them out in week two. And then there's the Giants. And the two New York teams right now, they look terrible. They're 0-4, combined 0-4. Is it all bad? Do you look at the Giants a little bit differently than you look at the Jets?
Yeah.
How do you see it?
That is, do you want me to expand?
Yes.
Because,
yes, I do. Moving along.
Listen, okay, they have weapons and I'm talking about the New York Giants. Saquon Barkley, terrible injury. He's still a playmaker. He's going to come back bigger and stronger. Ingram, I think he's a player. Defensively, they do play tight, good football at times. A little inconsistent. I think, Jones is going to be a solid quarterback in the National Football League. But then I look at the Jets, and, even though Le'Veon Bell, he's there, he doesn't look like the same Le'Veon Bell that played in Pittsburgh, and I don't know.
I don't
know if it's just the culture. And, what I get and what I hear is that, and I hate throwing coaches under the bus because I've been there. I've been fired twice already. I hate that. But it just seems like something that culture Since Gase has got there is just missing. Something's missing. And I think they're the worst team in the National Football League this year. They just, they do step out on the field. They do play okay. They just look like they're the worst team in the National Football League. I think the Giants is going to have some life. I think Joe Judge, if he learned from Bill Belichick and he has that in him, then he can try to change that culture around. But, it's kind of sad that a city of that magnitude has the two teams that can't get in the victory column at all.
Yeah, I'll just add to that. Whenever a team struggles, it's always the head coach or the quarterback, right, that it falls on. And Sam Darnold's not the problem with that football team. I still like Sam Darnold. Look, there's a lot of time left in the season to rebound. I've seen some teams look absolutely awful. In fact, your Steelers one year started 0-2. It got blown out the first 2 weeks of the year and then ended up making the playoffs. I remember one of Chuck Knowles last year. So I think I don't think the Jets are going to make the playoffs, but it is a long season. Let's give them some chance. When I think of them, though, and I think of the Giants with the young quarterback, and you talk about culture, I think of the Cardinals because they're 2-0. Kyler Murray's playing well. I don't think anyone really pays attention to the Cardinals other than when they traded for DeAndre Hopkins, and then they're like out of the news cycle again. Can we believe in them, do you think?
I do. I like, I didn't know what Murray was going to be. I knew he was kind of that scrambling. Baseball player, wiffle ball, whatever he was going to play. But it's like, I didn't know what he was going to do in the National Football League because the quarterbacks that come from OU, those guys are exciting. They run all over the field. They put all these points up in college, and they come in the league at times, and they don't do so well. So I was like, is he going to be that? or is there going to be something different? And I know one thing. They have a great leader in their franchise in Fitzgerald. Fitz is a man. He's a pro's pro. So if he's going to learn from him, and then you bring in D Hops, who brought a lot of energy and a kind of a swag that you want in the National Football League, because every player can't be a choir boy. It's just you can't happen in the National Football League. So you need to have some of those guys that have that little swag with you. And I think D Hop coming in brought that swag with him. And then Kyle Murray, I mean, this guy, he throws the football extremely well, and he's a lot faster than I thought he was going to be, because I mean, last week he ran up to the right side, came up. I thought he was going to get tackled on the 10, and he bolted to the goal line, the pylon on the right side. I'm like, and he outran the DBs, both of them. And I was like, this guy's a little bit faster than I thought he was going to be. So they have some weapons, I think finally the Cardinals, I saw the Kurt Warner taking them to the Super Bowl, and they're almost getting that victory versus the Steelers. They might find themselves back in the playoffs.
I know what play you're talking about. It looked like the defender had an angle on him, and then he put it into the super, super quick gear, and it reminded me of in Tecmo's Super Bowl when you thought you were running for the touchdown, and the defensive player, the computer, ran a 240 to catch you at the 5-yard line. So that's what that reminded me of. It's interesting with the Cardinals because they're 2-0. They're at the top of that division, but the NFC West, in theory, could have all four teams make the playoffs. With the expanded format, Rod, if there is a team in the NFC West that would be the odd team out, who would it be? Would it be the Cardinals, or would it be somebody else?
Obviously right now I would say it has to be somebody else, because the Cardinals are 2-0. And they've proven that they've played solid defense. They have some players on the defensive side, and Chandler Jones and Budda Baker. Those guys can play. They have some pieces to the puzzle, and I don't think people really realize how good they are and how talented and what type of players they have on their roster, because who follows the Cardinals? Nobody. But I think they're going to start making noise in the National Football League. And they've done that so far in the first 2 weeks. I wouldn't say they're the odd man out. For me right now, I would think it's going to be the 49ers, because they're just rash with injuries right now. I mean, they have so many injuries. And even though we saw on the board where Jimmy Garoppolo might play this week, they just had so many guys hurt in the first 2 weeks. And losing Nick Bosa, you're kind of your glue to the defensive front, makes you a little nervous. And the back end players, the secondary's kind of banged up and beat up a little bit. I would be thinking if any team in the NFC West is going to be out, it would be them. And I hate to say that, because I love Richard Sherman, I love Kyle Shanahan, but just looking at how everybody's playing and the rash of injuries they've had in the first 2 weeks, it would be them.
You know who does follow the Cardinals?
Who's that?
He follows the Cardinals.
I haven't heard that name in a long time.
That's about as good as I. It's been a while. If you got 4 teams from the NFC West making the playoffs, that would really be something. But it also, when I'm thinking of the postseason, the NFC I feel like is very, very even. When I look at the AFC, I think there's probably 4 big powers right now. Kansas City would be one of them. But if I said, okay, give me the other 3 teams that could overtake the Chiefs this year and be the Super Bowl representative, who do you got?
How many you want? I
want 3 other teams besides Kansas City, because I think there are 3 teams in the AFC, but I'm not going to say mine. I want yours.
I don't think there's 3 teams in the AFC that can take over Kansas City. I think Kansas City is going to keep getting better. I like Baltimore. I mean, obviously I love Baltimore just for the fact they can run the football and they can stop the run. And I know everybody's all into the passing attacks and all that stuff, but in real football, if they can't run the ball and they're always in second and long, they're always behind schedule in their third and long, it goes to the advantage of the defense. And their defense has played, Wink Martindale, the defense coordinator for the Baltimore Ravens, has done a wonderful job last year. He's going to do it this year, of guys just making plays, and they're extremely aggressive. And before they walk outside on the field, there's a big sign up there that says, "Play like a Raven." And that's what they've been doing. I know they're capable of knocking off Kansas City. I think the Steelers are if the offense keeps improving week in and week out. Ben let a couple balls rip. I think Claypool, I would love to see him on the field even more than Washington, because I think Claypool is a big-time player. I think he can make big plays down the field for him. Mm-hmm. And so if he's on the field more, that offense is going to get better when the defense is already balling. I think they can have that same effect to them. Other than that, I don't think there's another team in the AFC.
What about Buffalo? What about Buffalo? Come on, I've got Pittsburgh, Baltimore.
I like Buffalo. I do. But they played Miami and the Jets. So listen, I love, and I told you, and I've told you this before, I love Leslie Frazier. I love my man. He's my guy. I love Leslie. But they beat Miami and the Jets. They got to show me this week. Playing the Rams that they can play that good against a really good football team, because they're going to come out there and they're going to score some points, and some of those secondary people for the Rams, they'll jump routes on you, right? So can Josh Allen do the same thing he did against Miami and the Jets? And then you got the best defensive linemen in the National Football League, and Aaron Donald's across the way. Can they beat that unit? If they show me that they can beat people like that, then my mind will start changing about if they can overtake the Kansas City Chiefs in the AFC.
Well, so you said you like Buffalo. I want you to know Buffalo speaks very highly of you. So maybe you shouldn't, bag on them too much. A couple other teams in the AFC that I think could at least be contenders. Your former team, the Raiders and the Chargers, over in the AFC West. The Chargers look pretty good with Justin Herbert. The Raiders got that big win. And then we do need to consider New England. I know it's a transitional year for them. They had a lot of guys drop out before the season started. But of those three, of the Raiders, Chargers, and Patriots, which of those three, I know those are second-tier teams, which could emerge?
I think the Raiders. Just for the fact that I think they've been doing a good job of piecemealing it all together. They got younger in the receiving core. You got Nelson Aguilar, who comes in as their veteran. You got a tight end that's one of the top 3 tight ends in the National Football League. You have a solid defensive front. You got some pretty good linebackers as long as everybody gets back healthy. You got a young secondary that played extremely well against Drew Brees. So if they keep going in that direction in a positive way, then this is a good football team. And my key is to everybody about the Las Vegas Raiders is that Derek Carr, if he plays the way he's played in the first 2 weeks and at the end of last year, this is a good football team, because that little running back they got, Josh Jacobs, he is a baller in the passing game this year. And we obviously know what he did last year, and he's doing this year already in the running game.
So do you consider the Chargers and Patriots to be playoff teams, or am I overrating?
I like the Chargers, what they look like now. Now, listen, I like Tyrod Taylor. I do. And so, unfortunately that the doctor shot him in the doctor shot him in the ribs and punctured his lung. I mean, so that's kind of crazy. But they drafted a guy in Herbert that came out and threw for 311 yards. Didn't look like a rookie. He threw the ball extremely well. He missed some throws, but he's still young. I just think it looked more like when Phillip Rivers was running the show and he was hitting his weapons down the field. They were running the football. That's what it looked like. And if he's going to play like that, which I know you're going to have hiccups and roller coaster feels with a young guy, but if he plays like that, this is a different football team. They have players. Now, their defensive front, Bosa and Ingram, those guys can get at it with anybody. They got a nice secondary. Gus Bradley is a good defensive coordinator.
And Ingram wasn't even practicing. He didn't even practice.
So they have players. And my only problem I had with them was, I don't know what Tyrod was going to look like. And when he played the first game, I'm like, that's what Tyrod looks like. He's a scrambling quarterback. He doesn't take a lot of chances. The guy has to be open for him to throw it. He doesn't throw the guy open. And the difference between him and Herbert is that Herbert threw guys open. And he's a rookie.
Yeah.
So I like those guys, and I had him going to the postseason. I just didn't know how Tyrod was going to look. But if the young kid plays the way he played in that first game that he played, and this coming back to his second straight start, man, this is going to be a good football team because they have weapons. And my fantasy player, who do you think he is? He's number 13 for him.
Yeah, I know who he is. You're always touting your fantasy team. I just wanted to add though, that, with Herbert playing well, and let's not forget about Joe Burrow, the way he played last Thursday night. I know that some of it was garbage, but to throw over 60 passes without a pick, I think the NFL is in good shape with its young quarterbacks. We started this discussion with the Eagles. That's who the Bengals are playing. I'm going to keep an eye on him, but good stuff, Rod. And I think, like I said, the league's in a good place with all the young quarterbacks right now. I think we have more good young quarterbacks than we've had in a while, and that includes the guys for the losing teams. But I'm excited to see what they do this week. Either way, this is the game day, and are you in?